As promised in the last tutorial, we are going to make our bullet a little bit smarter, knowing how to spawn multiple times on a timer, as well as actually being destroyed when it goes a little bit too far. So what we're going to be doing is diving back into our bullet mover and spawner. In fact, we'll probably just change the spawner. I think the movement looks good enough for now. And I'm going to add a few variables that will make sense in a minute. I'm going to create something called spawn time. I'm going to create something called spawn delay. And I'm going to create something called destroy delay. And we'll be using these soon, because what we have access to in Unity are some pieces of functionality that allow us to call a behavior, but only after a certain amount of time. We also can have it repeat. So what we're going to be doing here is actually creating not anything in the update, but our own custom method. I'm going to call this a public void spawn bullet. And this is going to be what is responsible for actually creating the bullet. And I'm going to move my instantiate into here. Now, the spawn never happens because spawn bullet is never called. If I threw spawn bullet into start, it would do what it did before and just spawn a single bullet. All I've done is kind of reorganize my code a little bit, which is great, a good habit, but not actually helpful here. Here's our new method, invoke repeating. And what invoke repeating is going to do is I can tell it a method that I want it to invoke or call after some amount of time, and I can also have it repeat. So I need to actually put in as a string the method name. Be careful how you spell things here. It is picky. So notice the first thing it wants is the method name, next the time, and finally the repeat rate. So the time is how long it takes to trigger, and then repeat rate is how much time in between for every consecutive repeat. So I'm going to put in my variables for spawn time and spawn delay here. And now invoke repeating is going to be happy. So I now need to make sure that when I go back into my spawner that I put in a spawn time and spawn delay. Let's have it spawn immediately, and let's have it spawn a new one every 3 seconds. I'm not going to worry about destroy right now. And let's just see what this does. It starts by spawning a bullet, and then 3 seconds later it spawns another one. So I have a nice little gap between them, but it's going to continually spawn more bullets. Awesome. And now I have to kind of like dodge it and be careful to go through. Cool. That's a nice little piece of functionality up and running here. And just to see the value of prefabs, if I take my spawner and it's got this little box because it's not actually an object. Remember, I made an empty, so it has a bit of a different look to it. But this spawner here, what if I now added another spawner over here? And to keep things organized, I could actually create another empty and call it spawners. And then take these two spawners and put them underneath it and package it up. So now I have two spawners. Let's add a third one over here just to be thorough. Drop this one inside of here, and let's give it a bit of a helpful name just to be really clear. I can name these things better another time, but there's my second spawner. So there's my first, second, and third. And actually, let's put this up top here, nice and organized. A little note about groups is that if I move the main parent, everything underneath it is going to shift relative to it, and now they'll be in weird spots, but it allows me to kind of customize the position of everything in a group at once. But now I have those three spawners, and let's see what happens when I press run. I think I staggered them a little bit. Now we should see, yeah, the bullets are going down each of those paths, and I've just created a really easy way of having spawners wherever I want in my worlds. But now we have an ever-growing problem. In my scene, I have these bullets being made every 3 seconds, and now 3 more. And in a sec, 3 more. And this is going to start to overwhelm me, or overwhelm my computer, and make the processing really inefficient. So I actually also need to add in some ability to destroy on a timer as well. Now, I could simply just destroy the bullet manually or directly. Destroy game object. This is going to destroy, if I put in game object, the thing it's attached to. So game object in this case would be the spawner itself, which is not what I want. but this is how the destroy method works. So let's be a little bit more clever. When I instantiate my bullet, I actually want to access it to destroy it later. So I can't just instantiate it. What I can also do is create a game object called maybe temp bullet for now. And I'm going to set what gets instantiated to this game object variable. Now I have a reference to temp bullet, and what I can do with that is throw that in destroy. Awesome. So I can destroy the bullets. But the problem is that this destroy gets called right after I instantiate it, which means that it just destroys it immediately, which is not helpful. So destroy, we'll use it in different contexts later. There's lots of places where this will be super useful for you. However, we actually have another option in destroy, which allows us to have a delay. So when I create my bullet, I instantiate it, and then I'm queuing up its destruction. Basically, from the moment it's born, it's going to die soon. And I've pre-built in a ticking time bomb, how long it's going to take until it gets destroyed. So let's take a look over here. Now, under my spawner prefab, my destruction delay, let's give it, I don't know, 5 seconds. And let's just make sure that the prefab applied to everything. Looks like it did. And now what we should see in our game is those bullets getting created, and shortly after the first one gets created, those other ones should destroy themselves, keeping our code much cleaner, keeping it from going too far off the screen. And now I can do tons of stuff like tweaking, making it less often in between each spawn so the bullets are tighter, making it destroy right at the very edge by turning down the destruction time a little bit more. And I can just tweak this to look exactly as I want. But right now I've removed all that inefficiency problem and also the visual look of the game itself, and get hit by the bullet. I can make a whole bunch of them in this auto-generated way, and if I fall off, I restart. If I get hit by a bullet, I restart, and if I hit an obstacle, I get tossed around. Oh! So I actually got some serious gameplay up and running here. Maybe it's not the most fun game ever, but we got some cool stuff going. In our next video, which might be the final one of this section for now, we're going to add a finish point and multi-level support.